The world of the bold and the beautiful never slows. And this week the show explodes with shock, suspicion, and a reunion that spirals into chaos before anyone can breathe. It begins with Steffy Forrester stepping through the doors of her home on the hill. A newborn baby cradled in her arms. The sight alone sends both the Forrester and Finnegan families reeling. Finn is stunned, unable to speak at first. His eyes wide with disbelief as he realizes the woman he loves has been hiding a truth of life-changing magnitude. He has another child, a secret baby, one he never even knew existed until this very moment. But shock gives way to questions almost instantly. And the first one burns louder than the rest. Why did Steffy stay silent all this time? The room fills with whispers and gasps as family members try to process the revelation. Taylor Hayes hurries forward, her expression a mix of awe and concern. Ridge Forrester stiffens, protective instincts already blazing. Lee Finnegan looks on, torn between joy for her son and deep confusion about what has unfolded behind everyone's backs. The baby, innocent and fragile, lets out a cry, filling the tense silence with a sound that drives home the reality. This child exists, and nothing will ever be the same again. Finn, overwhelmed, demands answers. His voice rises, the pain cutting through his words. He wants to understand why the woman he trusted with everything withheld something so monumental. Why was he kept in the dark about his own child? Steffy's face is streaked with exhaustion, her hands trembling as she clutches the infant closer. She struggles to explain, her words halting, emotions crashing into each other. She confesses that her silence wasn't born of cruelty or deception but of fear. She admits that during her pregnancy, she felt threatened, cornered by shadows of the past, terrified that the child growing inside her could become a target in a world where safety was never guaranteed. The name hangs unspoken at first, but everyone knows who she means. Sheila Carter. The specter of Finn's biological mother looms over every word, every breath. Steffy insists she couldn't risk letting Sheila know about the baby. Not after everything Sheila had done. Not after every near-death moment. Every twisted plot. Every time she clawed her way back into their lives. Rumors had already been swirling in town. Whispers that Steffy had been forced into hiding. That her pregnancy had been kept under wraps to shield her from unseen threats. And now those rumors ignite into wildfire as the truth comes crashing out into the open. Finn listens, but he's torn in two. He understands the danger Sheila poses, but he can't shake the devastation of being excluded. His heart breaks at the thought of months lost. Moments stolen. A child he never got to prepare for or welcome. He pleads with Steffy for honesty, for transparency, for something to repair the trust that's already unraveling. But the harder he pushes, the more hesitant she becomes. Because beneath her explanation lies an even darker truth, one she hasn't spoken yet. It's Ridge who steps in next, his protective tone sharp as steel. He warns Finn that this is not just about emotions, it's about survival. He turns to his daughter with a look that makes it clear he knows more than she's saying. Taylor joins in, her eyes meeting Steffy's, silently urging her to tread carefully. Together, Ridge and Taylor reveal what they've been keeping quiet. The hideout where Steffy stayed during her pregnancy was compromised. Monitored. Tracked. Someone knew where she was. Someone who shouldn't have. And they never uncovered how the location was exposed. The silence in the room grows heavier. The baby whimpers again. And suddenly, what should have been a joyful family reunion transforms into a war council. Security becomes the dominant topic, every voice overlapping in panic and strategy. Ridge insists that extra guards be placed around the property immediately. Taylor demands that Steffy and the baby be kept under constant watch until they know who was responsible for tracking her down. Lee, ever pragmatic, offers to leverage hospital contacts to ensure the child's medical needs are fully met while also keeping the details confidential. Finn, however, won't let go of the emotional wound. He needs to understand why his wife bore this burden alone. Why she trusted everyone else with pieces of the truth but kept him blind to the whole picture. Steffy finally cracks under the weight of it. Through tears, she admits she feared Finn's connection to Sheila would be exploited again. She worried that by telling him too soon, she put both him and the baby in Sheila's crosshairs. She convinced herself silence was the only way to keep them safe. But in doing so, she created a chasm between them that may prove harder to mend than she ever imagined. Finn listens, stricken, caught between fury and sympathy, his love for Steffy clashing with his rage at the choices she made. As the night stretches on, the house on the hill becomes a fortress. Guards are stationed outside, phones are silenced, and everyone is sworn to secrecy about the newborn's existence until the threat is identified. The baby sleeps peacefully in Steffy's arms while the adults circle each other with suspicion and fear. Ridge paces the room like a general preparing for battle. Taylor whispers quietly to her daughter, urging strength. Lee tries to calm Finn, but his hands shake as he stares at the child he barely knows, vowing silently never to let anyone rip this child from him again. But even as they rally together, one truth becomes clear: this isn't just a family reunion. It's a declaration of war. Sheila Carter's name hasn't been spoken aloud in the house tonight, but it doesn't need to be. Everyone feels her presence. Everyone knows the danger isn't over. And as Finn and Steffy sit side by side, the baby between them, the weight of trust, betrayal, and survival presses down harder than ever. What should have been a moment of joy has become a moment of reckoning. A secret child has brought the Forresters and Finnegans together, but it may also tear them apart. And as Los Angeles sleeps, one question lingers in the shadows. If Sheila already knows about the baby, how long before she makes her move? Dr. John Finnegan stood in the quiet of the hospital hallway, the hum of fluorescent lights above barely registering as the magnitude of what had just happened settled on his chest like a weight. He was a father again. A beautiful, healthy child had entered the world, and he hadn't been there. Not in the room. Not even close. The joy that should have been overwhelming was instead dulled, tethered by something darker. Because as much as he tried to focus on the miracle of life, one undeniable truth burned in his mind. Steffi had gone through this alone. The moment he saw her in the hospital bed, their newborn resting on her chest, her eyes brimming with relief and weariness, a part of him broke. There should have been pictures, laughter, hand-holding, whispered encouragements through the pain. Instead, he had arrived after it all, summoned by a call, not a hand squeeze. He wanted to be angry, but more than that, he was just lost. Steffi had avoided his gaze at first, her voice soft, almost fragile. I needed to protect what we still have, Finn. There's been too much chaos, too many threats. I couldn't risk this moment being tainted by more pain. Her eyes finally met his, and he saw the fear behind them. Fear not of birth, or pain, but of what the world outside that hospital room could do to their family if they let it. I didn't want Hayes to feel that, not again. I didn't want to give chaos another doorway. Finn couldn't speak. His throat tightened. He understood what she meant. On some level, he even respected it, but the sting of exclusion cut deep. She had made a decision. Without him. About their family. About their child. About their marriage. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. But in his silence, Steffi knew. I didn't do this to hurt you, she whispered. No, he finally replied, voice low. But you still did. The days that followed were a fragile balancing act. Between diaper changes and quiet feedings. Between the stillness of late nights and the noise of family well-wishers. Something was breaking. Finn would find himself staring at Steffi when she wasn't looking, as if trying to see the reasons behind her actions printed on her skin. Steffi, in turn, moved with practiced poise, as if doing everything perfectly would erase the fracture neither of them could ignore. Finally, one evening, after putting Hayes to bed and with the newborn asleep in Steffi's arms, Finn sat down across from her and said what had been building. I think we need help. Steffi looked up slowly. She didn't flinch, didn't argue. She just nodded. Marriage counseling? I don't want to drift, Finn said. I don't want to be in love with someone who's disappearing from me. I haven't disappeared, Steffi said quickly, but even she heard the edge of uncertainty in her voice. I've been trying to protect this family. Finn leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. From me? No, a beat. From Sheila, and there it was. The name that always found a way between them. Steffi didn't mince words. If we're going to do this, if we're going to try and heal, we have to be honest about what's still poisoning us. And it's her. She's not part of this, Finn said, his tone sharper than intended. She always is. You may not see it, but I do. Every time she shows up, every time she gets into your head, something breaks in this family. This baby should have been born into peace, Finn. Not under the shadow of whether her grandmother would burst in with a gun or another psychotic. Promise. That's not fair, he replied. The tension mounting. I've tried to keep her out. You know I have. I've told her to stay away. I've cut her off before. But not in here. Steffi touched her chest. Not where it matters. You still feel something for her. Even if it's just pity. You still want to believe she can change. And as long as you hold on to that, even a little, she'll keep finding her way back. Finn didn't deny it. Couldn't. Because she was right. Then say it, Steffi continued. If we're going to therapy, if we're going to be a team again, I need one promise from you. No more Sheila. Not just physically, but emotionally. No compassion. No medical excuses. Nothing. Finn sat frozen. That request, so absolute, felt like a blade. Because in truth, he had never fully let go of Sheila. Not because he loved her. Not because he trusted her. But because she was his biological mother. And some part of him, a deep, quiet place inside, still clung to the fantasy that she might someday be the mother he never had. But fantasy had no place in Steffi's world, or in Hayes, or in the life of their new baby. If I give you that, he asked slowly, what's left of me? Steffy didn't blink. The part one married, the man who stands by his family. It was a plea. Finn stood, pacing the room. His breath came unevenly. He wasn't sure who he was without that last ember of hope for Sheila. But he did know what he stood to lose if he didn't let it go. He turned to Steffi. Okay, I promise. It felt like swallowing glass. But he said it. Steffi's shoulders relaxed, just a little. But the air between them didn't warm. They both knew what came next. A war not with Sheila, but within Finn himself. He started seeing the therapist first, then joined by Steffi. The sessions were raw. At first, surface-level conversations about communication and trust. But soon, the truth poured out like blood from a reopened wound. Finn confessed to guilt, not just for what Sheila had done, but for who she was. He had spent so long convincing himself that he was nothing like her, but the reality was murkier. He felt an echo of her inside him. Rage when cornered, desperation when rejected, and above all, the need to fix things that were broken. That was his greatest vulnerability. Not love, not loyalty, the belief that even monsters could be healed. That's the doctor in you, the therapist offered. But in your marriage, you can't always be the healer. Sometimes you have to choose who deserves to be saved. That hit Finn harder than he expected. Because when he looked at Steffi, tired, tense, but still standing, he knew who deserved it. But knowing wasn't the same as doing. There were slip-ups. One night, he saw a missed call from a blocked number. He didn't answer, but he stared at the screen for 5 minutes, wondering. The curiosity gnawed at him. Did she know about the baby? Would she try to come? Would she try to redeem herself again with more tears and apologies? He told Steffi the truth. Every time. And each time, it felt like pulling thorns from his skin. You're doing it, she said once, after he admitted to a dream he had where Sheila held the baby. You're choosing us. But inside, Finn wondered if love was supposed to feel this hard. Then came the letter. It arrived by courier. No return address. Just his name on the envelope. Inside, one line, I saw the photos. She's beautiful. I won't come. I promise. Just love her enough for both of us. It was unsigned, but he knew. He knew. He didn't tell Steffi. Not at first. But the guilt sat on his chest like a cinder block. Not because he replied, he didn't, but because it stirred something. Not love. Not trust. Just sadness. That even in absence, Sheila could still reach in and twist something soft inside him. When he finally told Steffi days later, she didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just said, that's what I'm afraid of. It nearly destroyed him. The therapy intensified. Finn began confronting his past. Not just with Sheila, but with the hole her absence had left in him his whole life. He saw now how that hole had shaped him. Made him overcompensate. Made him reach for peace even when it was poisoned. Steffi stood by him, but never blindly. She challenged him. Pushed him. Sometimes she pulled back, needing space from his turmoil. But she didn't give up. Because beneath it all, she still saw the man who held her hand after Hayes was born. The man who had once sworn to protect their future, and meant it. Months passed. The baby grew. Hayes smiled more. Their home felt less haunted. And Finn? He learned to carry the weight without letting it define him. The letter remained in a drawer, unopened again, unread, untouched. A reminder of the line he would never cross. Because healing wasn't about forgetting the pain. It was about refusing to let it own you. And for Finn, the only way forward was through fire. With Steffi at his side. And the past finally behind them,